The stars looked different out here. Captain Daiho Kim stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable and stared at the view screen. 3 years of travel had brought them farther from Earth than any human had ever gone. The mission was simple: explore, map, and return. But the universe, Daiho was learning, rarely kept things simple. "Captain, I'm detecting something," said Dr. Mireille Park from her station. The science officer's voice was calm, but Daiho heard the excitement underneath. "Multiple ships, big ones. They just appeared on our sensors." Daiho moved to her console. The screen showed 5 massive vessels in formation. They were unlike anything in Earth's database. Sleek, dark, and covered in strange markings that seemed to glow. "Lieutenant Jiwan, raise shields," Daiho ordered, "but keep weapons offline."
"Mireille, can you open a channel?"
"Working on it," Mireille replied, her fingers flying across the controls. "Their communication system is complex, but I think I can." "Got it." The view screen changed. A face appeared. It was not human. The being had silver skin, 4 eyes arranged in a square pattern, and a mouth that seemed too wide. When it spoke, the translator struggled for a moment before catching up. "Unknown vessel, you have entered Vrexian space. Identify yourself immediately or be destroyed." Daiho took a breath. This was it. First contact. "I am Captain Daiho Kim of the United Earthship Indomitable. We come in peace. We did not know this space was claimed. We mean no harm." The alien's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. It looked confused, then suspicious. "Earth? We have no record of this species. Your technology suggests military capability. State your intentions." "We are explorers," Daiho said. "We are new to space travel. We are simply trying to learn about the universe." "New?" The alien seemed to consider this. "How new?" "We achieved faster-than-light travel 15 years ago," Mireille said, stepping forward. "This is our first deep space mission." The alien's expression changed. Daiho couldn't read it. Was that surprise? Disgust? Fear? 15 years, the alien repeated. "And you already have ships like this?" "Armed ships?" It paused. "I am Ambassador Tegan Rowe of the Vrexian hegemony. You will allow me to board your vessel for inspection. This is not a request." Jiwan leaned close to Daiho. "Captain, we don't know anything about them. This could be a trap." "We don't have much choice," Daiho whispered back. Then louder. "Ambassador Tegan, you are welcome aboard. We will prepare to receive you." 20 minutes later, Tegan materialized in the transport room. The Vrexian was tall, nearly 7 feet, wearing robes that shimmered like liquid metal. 2 guards flanked him, both armed with weapons that hummed with energy. Daiho extended his hand. "Welcome aboard, Ambassador." Tegan looked at the hand but did not take it. "Show me your vessel. I will determine if humans are a threat to the Galactic Council." "Galactic Council?" Mireille asked. "You truly know nothing," Tegan said. "It was not a question. The Council maintains peace among 47 star systems. 3 great species lead it: the Vrexian hegemony, the Talthic Concordat, and the Novu Commonwealth. We have kept order for over 5,000 of your years." As they walked through the ship, Tegan asked endless questions. How many weapons did they have? What was their population? Did they have wars? The ambassador's tone grew colder with each answer. "So," Tegan said finally, "humans fought each other. You had world wars. Nuclear weapons. Millions dead." He turned to face Daiho. "And now you come to the stars. Do you understand why we might see you as dangerous?" "Yes," Daiho said honestly. "But we learned from those mistakes. We united. We chose peace." "You chose peace when you ran out of other options," Tegan said. "That is not the same thing," Mireille spoke up. "Ambassador, may I show you something?" She led them to her lab. The walls were covered with images. Music from different cultures played softly. Books in 100 languages lined the shelves. This is humanity. Yes, we fought. But we also created. We made art and music and poetry. We explored and learned and grew. We are more than our worst moments. Tegan studied the displays. For the first time, his expression softened slightly. You are very young as a species. Perhaps that is why you still have hope. He turned away. I will complete my report to the council. You will. An alarm cut him off. Jiwan's voice came over the speakers. Captain, to the bridge. We're receiving a distress call. They ran. On the bridge, Jiwan played the message. It was audio only, broken by static. Under attack. Threshold station, Kravathi swarm. 3,000 civilians. Anyone, please. The message cut off. Threshold station is a Talthic mining colony, Tegan said. It is not far from here. Then we need to help them, Deho said. How fast can we get there? Help them? Tejan looked shocked. You cannot. The Kravathi are extremely dangerous, and you are not part of the council. We have protocols, rules. There are 3,000 people dying, Deho said firmly. I don't care about protocols. Captain, Tejan said coldly, if you interfere, the council will see it as an act of aggression. Your species could be labeled a threat, quarantined, or worse. Deho looked at his crew. G1 stood ready at weapons. Mirai was already plotting a course. Even the engineers in the back had stopped working to watch. They all knew what he was going to say. Then that's a risk we take, Deho said. G1, plot a course to Threshold Station. Maximum speed? All crew to battle stations. You are making a terrible mistake, Tejin said. Maybe, Deho replied, but at least we'll be able to look ourselves in the mirror afterward. He turned to the helm. Engage. The Indomitable leaped forward into the unknown. Behind them, Tejin watched the human crew prepare for battle. They moved with purpose and determination. They were going to fight an enemy they had never seen, to save people they did not know, risking everything they had worked for. The ambassador did not understand it. But somewhere in his ancient mind, a question began to form. Perhaps he had misjudged these humans. Perhaps there was more to them than violence and war. Perhaps, Tejin thought as the stars streaked past, humanity was exactly what the galaxy needed, even if they didn't know it yet. Threshold Station was burning when they arrived. The Indomitable dropped out of faster-than-light travel to find chaos. Dozens of strange ships swarmed around the mining station like angry insects. Their hulls were organic, pulsing with sickly green light. These were the Kravathi. My God, Mirai whispered, the station was massive, built into an asteroid. Parts of it were already torn open. Bodies and debris floated in the void. The Kravathi ships fired weapons that looked like living things, creatures of energy that ate through metal and shields. Scanning, G1 said, her voice tight. I count 47 Kravathi vessels. They're small but fast. Their weapons are, I don't know what they are. We're one ship against 47, Tejin said from behind them. This is suicide. Then help us, Deho said. Call your fleet. The nearest Rexian ships are hours away. By then, everyone on that station will be dead. Tejin paused. I cannot authorize engagement. The Kravathi exist outside council space. We have neutrality protocols. Protocols, Deho repeated. He looked at the screen at the dying station. Fine, you follow your protocols. We'll follow ours. He turned to G1. Target the Kravathi ships closest to the station. Mirai, find me every piece of cover in this asteroid field. We're going in. The Indomitable dove into the battle. Deho had fought before, back during the Mars Rebellion. But this was different. These enemies didn't think like humans. They moved in perfect coordination like a single organism. Every time G1 destroyed one ship, 3 more took its place. We can't fight them head-on, G1 said as another impact rocked the ship. Their coordination is too good. Then we don't fight fair, Deho said. Use the asteroids. Hide and strike. Make them chase us. The Indomitable weaved between massive rocks. G1 used every trick she had learned in pilot training. They would hide behind an asteroid, wait for Kravathi ships to pass, then strike from behind. It was working slowly. The swarm began to break apart, trying to follow them. Tejin watched in silence. These tactics were crude, dishonorable even, but they were effective. The humans fought like they were still on their violent homeworld. No rules, no formations, just survival. Captain, I'm receiving a transmission from the station, Miri said. They're evacuating civilians to the lower levels, but their defenses are failing. Can we dock? Teho asked. Not with all these Kravathi around us. An explosion tore through the ship. The lights flickered. Hull breach on deck 3, someone shouted. Engineering needs help. Deho grabbed the internal comm. Bora, report. Engineer Bora Choi's voice came through strained. We took a direct hit. The breach is spreading. I'm sealing off sections, but we're losing atmosphere. Get out of there, Deho ordered. Can't, Captain. If I leave, the whole section will decompress. Give me 2 minutes. I can fix this. Tejin stepped forward. Captain, the engineer will die if she stays there. I know, Deho said quietly. But he didn't order her to leave. He knew Bora. She had made her choice. 2 minutes felt like hours. Finally, Bora's voice returned. Breach sealed. Engines are... well, they're not pretty, but they'll hold. Relief flooded through the bridge. But there was no time to celebrate. More Cravathi were coming. Deho counted them on the screen. They were outnumbered and outgunned. The Indomitable was barely holding together. "Captain," Mireille said softly, "we're not going to make it, are we?" Before Deho could answer, Tejan spoke. "There is another way. The Cravathi fight as a swarm. They have a coordination signal. If we could disrupt it, how?" Jiwan asked. "My ship has jamming technology, but I would need to get close to them." "Very close." Tejan looked at Daiho. "I am not authorized to engage in combat, but perhaps I could claim my systems malfunctioned." Deho stared at the ambassador. "You would do that? Risk your career? Maybe your life?" Tejan was quiet for a moment. He watched the crew working around him. The engineer who had risked death to save her ship. The tactical officer who fought impossible odds without complaint. The captain who had chosen to help strangers. "I have spent 500 years following protocols," Tejan said finally. "Perhaps it is time I remembered why those protocols exist. To protect life, all life." The ambassador transported back to his ship. Minutes later, the Vrexian vessel moved into the thick of the swarm. Tejan activated every jamming system he had. The effect was immediate. The Cravathi ships began firing at each other, confused and disoriented. "It's working," G1 said. "The swarm is breaking apart." "Now's our chance," Deho said. "Get us to that station." "We're getting those people out." The Indomitable docked with Threshold Station. Deho led a team inside. The station was a nightmare. Fires burned despite the lack of oxygen. Bodies floated in corridors. Terrified civilians huddled in sealed rooms. The aliens looked different from anything Deho had seen. Some had scales. Others had fur or feathers. But they all had the same expression: fear. "Please," one of them said in broken English. "Help us, the Cravathi, they take people alive." "Feed on them." "We're here to help," Deho said. "Everyone follow us. We're leaving." They moved through the station, gathering survivors. Medic Hyunseo Lim treated wounded aliens without hesitation, even though she had never seen their species before. She worked on them the same way she would work on humans. Life was life. As they led the last group back to the ship, Cravathi warriors broke through. They were terrifying up close, all teeth and claws and hunger. Jiwan and her security team held them back while the civilians escaped. 2 security officers died, buying time for others to run. Finally, everyone was aboard. The Indomitable undocked and pulled away. The Cravathi, still confused by Tejan's jamming, didn't pursue. They had won. Barely. In the cargo bay, nearly 800 aliens sat in stunned silence. They were alive because strangers had risked everything to save them. Tejan walked among them, seeing their faces, seeing what humanity had done. Deho found the ambassador standing alone. "Thank you," Deho said. "We couldn't have done this without you." "I did nothing," Tejan said quietly. "You did this. You and your crew." He looked at Deho. "But now you must face the consequences. The council will summon you, and they will not be pleased." Deho nodded. He had known this would happen. "Then I'll go, and I'll tell them the truth. Sometimes doing the right thing means breaking the rules." Tejan almost smiled. "Almost. You are either the bravest species I have ever met, or the most foolish. Perhaps both." "Probably both," Deho agreed. As the Indomitable limped away from Threshold Station, Deho watched the survivors. They were alive. That was what mattered. Whatever the council decided, he could live with it, because at least they had tried. At least they had fought for those who couldn't fight for themselves, and that, Deho thought, was what it meant to be human. Nixara Prime was beautiful. The capital world of the Galactic Council sat at the center of a triple star system. 3 suns painted the sky in shades of gold and orange. Massive towers stretched toward the heavens, connected by bridges of pure light. Ships from 100 worlds filled the air. Deho saw none of it. He stood in the council chamber, surrounded by beings who could decide the fate of his entire species. The room was enormous, designed to make visitors feel small. It was working. 3 massive thrones dominated the chamber. In one sat a Vrexian leader, silver and ancient. In another, a Talthic representative covered in blue scales that caught the light. The third held a Novu, a being of pure energy contained in a crystalline shell. Dozens of other species filled the seats around the chamber. All of them stared at Deho. "Captain Deho Kim of Earth," the Vrexian leader said. "You stand accused of violating first contact protocols. engaging in military action without authorization, and endangering council neutrality with hostile forces. How do you answer? Daiho took a breath. He had practiced this speech 100 times on the journey here. Now, facing the council, the words felt inadequate. I don't deny what I did, he said. We received a distress call from Threshold Station. 3,000 civilians were under attack. We responded. We saved as many as we could. If that's a crime, then I'm guilty. Murmurs filled the chamber. The Verexian leader raised a hand for silence. Your species is unknown to us, unvetted. You possess military technology and a history of violence. Yet you immediately involved yourselves in galactic conflicts. This is precisely why protocols exist. With respect, Daiho said, those protocols would have let 3,000 people die. Better 3,000 than 3 billion, the Verexian said coldly. We do not know your intentions, your capacity for war. You could be a threat to all civilized space. The Talthic representative leaned forward. Unlike the Verexian, its voice was warm. If I may speak, the humans saved my people. They risked their only ship, their only crew for strangers. Is this the action of a threat? It could be deception, another voice said. A ploy to gain our trust. Or, the Talthic said, it could be genuine compassion. Something we seem to have forgotten. The argument continued. Some called for Earth to be quarantined, cut off from the rest of the galaxy. Others suggested surveillance. A few even whispered about preemptive strikes. Then Teijin entered the chamber. The ambassador walked slowly to the center of the room. He looked older somehow, tired, but his voice was clear. I was there, Teijin said. I witnessed everything. And I must testify. The Verexian leader nodded. Speak, ambassador. I went to evaluate the humans, expecting to find barbarians, Teijin began. Their history suggested violence, warfare, destruction, and yes, all of that is true. But I found something else as well. He turned to face the council. I saw an engineer stay in a breached section, knowing she might die to save her ship and crew. I saw a medic treat wounded aliens with the same care she would give her own species. I saw a captain choose to save strangers over the safety of his mission. Teijin paused. They fight, yes, but they fight for others, not for conquest, not for resources, for people, for life. I have lived 500 years and served the council for most of them, and I have never seen such courage from such a young species. The chamber was silent. The Verexian leader looked troubled. Ambassador Teijin, you violated your own protocols. You engaged in combat to assist them. Yes, Teijin said, because they showed me that sometimes protocols are wrong. Sometimes doing the right thing means breaking the rules. He looked at Daiho. These humans taught me that. Before the council could respond, alarms began to sound. A Novu official rushed into the chamber, its crystalline form pulsing with urgency. The Kravati, it said. They're attacking. 3 border worlds. Simultaneous assaults, chaos erupted. Council members shouted over each other. The Verexian leader called for the fleet to mobilize. But there was confusion. Disagreement. The council, for all its power, was not built for quick decisions. Daiho watched them argue. He understood now. The council had maintained peace for so long because they had never really been tested. Not like this. They had protocols and procedures, but those took time. Time the border worlds didn't have. His communicator buzzed. A message from Earth. Daiho read it and felt his heart sink, then lift, then sink again. Admiral Sujin Quan was coming, with the entire Earth fleet. Excuse me, Daiho said loudly. The council ignored him. Excuse me, he shouted. The chamber fell silent. Everyone stared at him. I just received word from Earth, Daiho said. Our fleet is on its way. 23 ships. It's everything we have. They're coming to help you fight. The Verexian leader stood. Captain, you have no authority to commit your forces. You are not part of the council. This is what we do, Daiho interrupted. You're debating whether we're dangerous, whether we can be trusted, whether we deserve a place in your council. Well, here's your answer. We stand with those who need help. Even if it costs us everything, even if you never accept us. That's who we are, the Talthic representative spoke. The human fleet is small. 23 ships will not change the battle. Maybe not, Daiho said. But we'll be there, and we'll fight until we can't fight anymore, because that's what allies do. Teijin stepped beside Daiho. I propose we accept Earth's assistance. Furthermore, I propose we grant them provisional council membership. They have proven themselves willing to sacrifice for others. What more proof do we need? The debate continued, but it was different now. Urgent. Real. The Cravathi were coming, and the council needed every ship. Finally, the Novu representative spoke. Its voice was like crystal chimes. Let the humans fight with us. We will judge them not by their words or their history, but by their actions in the battle to come. If they stand with us, we will stand with them. The vote was called. Not everyone agreed, but enough did. The motion passed. Deho felt relief wash over him. Then fear, then determination. Earth was going to war, a war they didn't start for people they barely knew, in a galaxy that hadn't yet decided if they belonged. But that was exactly why they had to fight. As he left the chamber, Tajan walked beside him. Your Admiral Sujin must be either very brave or very foolish to commit your entire fleet. Deho smiled grimly. You know us humans. Probably both. Yes, Tajan said softly. I am beginning to know you. And I think the galaxy is better for it. Above them, through the crystal ceiling, ships began to gather. The council fleet was mobilizing. And somewhere out in the darkness of space, 23 human vessels raced toward their first real war. Together, they would face the Cravathi. Together they would stand. Or together, they would fall. Verith was dying. From space, the planet looked peaceful. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds. Beautiful. But Admiral Sujin Quan knew better. Her sensors told the real story. Thousands of Cravathi ships swarmed around the world like a disease. Cities burned below. The council fleet had arrived first, hundreds of ships in perfect formation. They fought bravely, but their tactics were rigid, predictable. The Cravathi adapted to every move. This is Admiral Sujin Quan of the Earth Defense Fleet. She broadcast on all channels. We're here to help. Sending tactical data now. The council commander responded immediately. His voice was strained. Admiral, we welcome your assistance, but 23 ships cannot watch us, Sujin said. All human ships break formation. Execute pattern wildfire. The Earth fleet scattered. No formation, no order. Just 23 ships diving into the chaos. The council forces watched in confusion. This looked like panic. Like madness, it was neither. Lieutenant Jiwan commanded the frigate Resolute. She had trained for this her entire career. Not against aliens, but against other humans who knew how to fight dirty. She weaved through the Cravathi swarm, never staying in one place. Her ship fired, turned, fired again. No pattern. No predictability. The Cravathi tried to coordinate against her. But every time they adjusted, she had already moved. Other human ships did the same. They fought like individuals, but somehow they worked together. When one ship drew enemy fire, another would strike from behind. On the Indomitable, now repaired and back in the fight, Deho watched the battle unfold. Mirai, are you getting all this? Recording everything, the science officer said. The Cravathi swarm is showing signs of confusion. Our tactics are disrupting their coordination. Good. Send the data to the council ships. Show them how we fight. Tajan stood beside Deho. The ambassador had chosen to remain on the human ship. Your tactics are chaos, he said. Controlled chaos, Deho corrected. We learn this fighting each other. When your enemy expects order, give them chaos. When they expect patterns, give them randomness. Slowly, the council forces began to adapt. Phyrexian ships with their powerful shields moved forward, drawing fire. Talthic vessels with long-range weapons provided cover from a distance. Novu ships jammed Cravathi communications, and human ships darted through it all, striking where the enemy was weakest. For the first time, the council fleet fought not as separate species but as one force. But the Cravathi were not finished. A massive shape emerged from behind Verith's moon. It was enormous, easily 10 times the size of any ship in the battle. Its hull pulsed with organic light. Smaller Cravathi ships swarmed around it like children around a mother. What is that? Deho breathed. The Queen ship, Tajan said. His voice was hollow. I have seen it before. It commands the entire swarm. As long as it lives, the Cravathi will keep coming. The Queen ship fired. Energy beams tore through space, destroying 3 council vessels instantly. The Cravathi swarm suddenly coordinated again, pressed their advantage. Sujin's voice came over the comm. All ships focus fire on the Queen ship. We need to take it down. Admiral, the council commander said, that ship's defenses are too strong. We've tried before. Nothing penetrates its shields. Then we get through the shields, Sujin said. All human ships form up on me. We're going in. Admiral, Deho said, that's a suicide run. I know, Sujin said calmly. That's why I need volunteers only. Anyone who wants to pull back, do it now. No one will think less of you. Silence. Then one by one, human ships moved into formation behind the Admiral's flagship. All 23 of them. Tejan watched them gather. Your species really is insane. Probably, Deho said. Jiwan, take us in. Then Tejan's communicator buzzed. A message from the Vrexian fleet. They were joining the attack. So were the Talthic ships. And the Novu. Every vessel in the Council fleet was moving forward. The Council commander's voice filled the channel. If the humans are willing to sacrifice everything, how can we do less? All ships' attack pattern follows human lead. Let us fight together. The combined fleet struck the Queen ship as one. Hundreds of vessels firing everything they had. The shields held, but they were weakening. The Kravathi swarm tried to protect their queen, but there were too many attackers. Tejan made a decision. Captain, I am taking a fighter. I am going with the strike wing. Deho stared at him. Ambassador, you don't have to— Yes, I do, Tejan said. You showed me that courage means action, not words. It is time I remembered how to fight. Minutes later, Tejan sat in a Vrexian fighter alongside human pilots. It had been centuries since he had flown in combat. But some things you never forget. All strike craft, this is Captain Deho. I'll be leading the wing. Our target is a weak point in the Queen ship's lower section. We need to get through the shields and hit it with everything we have. Stay close. Watch each other's backs. And remember, we only need one ship to get through. The strike wing launched, 50 small craft against impossible odds. They flew through a storm of fire. Ships exploded around them, but they kept going. Tejan flew beside Deho, a human and a Vrexian fighting as one. Around them, pilots from a dozen species did the same, no longer separate. No longer alone, they reached the shields. The Queen ship fired at them. Tejan watched 3 fighters disintegrate. Then 5 more, but the survivors pushed through, using the larger ship's weapons fire to create gaps in the shields. Deho was first through. His fighter took heavy damage immediately. I'm hit. Weapons are offline. I have weapons, Tejan said, pulling up beside him. Guide me to the weak point. I will make the shot. Together they dove toward the Queen ship's hull. Deho's damaged fighter drew fire while Tejan lined up his shot. The targeting computer locked on. The alien ambassador, who had once called humans barbaric, now fought beside them. Fire, Deho shouted. Tejan fired. His weapons, combined with the strikes from the other surviving fighters, hit the weak point exactly. The Queen ship's hull cracked, and split, then exploded in a burst of green energy that lit up the entire battlefield. The Kravathi swarm went wild. Without their Queen's coordination, they fought each other, fled in random directions, or simply stopped moving. The battle was over, but the cost was terrible. 7 human ships destroyed, dozens of council vessels, thousands dead. Deho and Tejan limped back to the Indomitable. The ship was barely functional, held together by Bora's skill and sheer stubbornness. But it was alive. They were alive. As Deho climbed out of his fighter, he saw the crew gathered. They looked exhausted, wounded, but they stood tall. Tejan emerged from his fighter and walked to Deho. The ambassador did something unexpected. He placed his hand over his hearts in the Vrexian salute. You saved my life, Tejan said. You saved countless lives. And you showed me what it truly means to be brave. Deho returned the salute, then extended his hand. This time, Tejan took it. We did it together, Deho said. That's the only reason we won. Below them, Verith began to heal. The Kravathi were gone. The planet was saved, and humanity had proven once and for all that they belonged among the stars. The Galactic Council chamber looked different now. The same 3 thrones, the same representatives from dozens of worlds. But something had changed. The way they looked at each other, the way they spoke. The weight of shared sacrifice hung in the air. Deho stood in the center again, but this time he was not alone. Admiral Sujin stood beside him. So did Jiwan, Mirai, and Bora. The entire command crew of the Indomitable, representing all of humanity. The Vrexian leader rose from his throne. He looked older somehow, though his species barely aged. The battle had marked him in other ways. The council has reached a decision, he said. His voice was formal, but there was warmth underneath. Captain Daeho Kim, Admiral Sujin Kwan, and the people of Earth. You came to us as strangers, unknown and unproven. We feared you. Some of us wanted to isolate you or worse. He paused. But you showed us something we had forgotten. That courage is not the absence of fear. That strength is not measured in weapons alone. That the truest test of character is what we do for others when there is nothing to gain for ourselves. The Talthic representative stood. You saved my people at Threshold Station. Then you saved Verith. You risked your entire fleet, your entire future, for worlds you had never seen, for people you barely knew. The Novu's crystalline form pulsed with light as it spoke. Therefore, it is the unanimous decision of this council to grant Earth full membership. You are no longer visitors in our space. You are our equals, our allies, our friends. The chamber erupted in approval. Representatives from dozens of species stood and cheered. Daeho felt Sujin squeeze his shoulder. Mirai was crying. Even Jiwan, always so controlled, had tears in her eyes. But it was Taijin's voice that cut through the celebration. The ambassador walked to the center of the chamber. If I may speak, Taijin said. The room quieted. I was sent to evaluate humanity, to determine if they were a threat. I found my answer, but it was not what I expected. He turned to face the council. Humans are dangerous. Make no mistake about that. They fight like nothing we have ever seen. They refuse to surrender even when surrender is the logical choice. They will sacrifice themselves for strangers without hesitation. Taijin looked at Daeho. But they are not dangerous to us. They are dangerous for us, because they make us want to be better. They remind us why the council exists, not to maintain power or territory, but to protect life. All life. The ambassador's voice grew stronger. I have lived 500 years. I have seen empires rise and fall. But I have never seen anything like the Battle of Verith, where dozens of species fought not as separate fleets bound by treaty, but as true allies, as one people with one purpose. That, Taijin said, is what humanity has given us. Not just their ships or their tactics, but the reminder that we are stronger together than apart. That sometimes doing the right thing means breaking the rules. That courage means standing with those who need you, even when it costs everything. Sujin stepped forward. Members of the council, thank you for this honor. But I want you to understand something about Earth. We don't see ourselves as special. We're just stubborn. We don't give up. We don't leave people behind. And we don't surrender. She looked around the chamber. Our history is full of mistakes, wars, destruction, pain. We nearly destroyed ourselves. But we learned from it. We learned that the only way to survive is together. That our differences make us stronger, not weaker. That when we stand united, nothing can break us. We bring that lesson to the stars, Sujin continued. Not because we're perfect, but because we know what happens when people forget to stand together. We've seen it. We've lived it. We've died from it, and we refuse to let it happen again. The Vrexian leader bowed his head. Then let it be known across all of council space. Humanity has earned its place among us, and more than that, they have shown us the path forward. Not as separate species competing for power, but as true allies fighting for each other. The ceremony continued for hours. Treaties were signed, agreements made, plans for the future discussed. Earth would establish embassies on council worlds. Council species would visit Earth, joint research programs, cultural exchanges, military cooperation, but Daeho barely heard any of it. He was thinking about the crew members they had lost, the ones who would never see this moment. They had paid the price for humanity's place in the galaxy. Later, after the formalities ended, Daeho found himself on an observation deck overlooking the shipyards. Construction had already begun on a new station. A symbol of unity between Earth and the Council, Taijin joined him. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the work. You know, Taijin said finally, when I first met you, I thought humans were barbaric, dangerous, a threat to everything we had built. And now, Daeho asked. Now I think you are dangerous, Taijin said with something that might have been a smile, but in the best possible way. You make us question our assumptions, challenge our protocols, remember our purpose, Daeho laughed. So we went from barbarians to useful troublemakers? You are more than that, Taijin said seriously. You are what the galaxy needs. Species that refuse to accept defeat, that fight for those who cannot fight for themselves, that stand with their allies no matter the cost. He turned to face Daeho. You humans have a saying, I believe, about earning friends? We have many sayings, Deho said. But I think I know which one you mean. To earn true friends, you must be willing to stand with them in their darkest hour. Yes, Tejan said. You stood with us. And now we will always stand with you. Because that is what allies do. What friends do. Below them, the new station took shape. It would be called Unity Station. A place where all species could meet, work, and live together. Where children from 100 worlds would play in parks. Where scientists would collaborate. Where soldiers would train side by side. Mireille appeared beside them. Captain, I just received word. The Council is establishing a joint research center on the station. They want me to run the xenobiology division. They're bringing together the best scientists from every member species. That's wonderful, Deho said. You deserve it. They also want Lieutenant Jiwan to help train Council tactical officers, Mireille added. Teaching them human combat strategies. Deho felt pride swell in his chest. His crew, representing humanity across the galaxy, showing other species what Earth had to offer. 6 months passed. Unity Station opened to great celebration. Deho, now a Commodore, oversaw security. He watched as the first families moved in. Human children played with Talthic younglings. Vrexian elders taught Earth students about galactic history. Novu chefs learned to make pizza. It was not perfect. There were misunderstandings, cultural conflicts, growing pains. But they worked through them, together. Then the warnings came. The Kravathi were gathering again, building new ships. The war was not over, but this time the Council was ready. This time, they would face the threat not as separate species, but as one unified force. Human tactics combined with Vrexian shields, Talthic weapons, and Novu technology. On the night before the fleet departed, Deho and Tejan shared drinks in a bar on Unity Station. Around them, soldiers from a dozen species did the same, not as separate groups but mixed together. Friends. You know, Tejan said. I used to think the Council's greatest strength was our protocols, our order, our predictability. And now? Deho asked. Now I know our greatest strength is something you taught us, the refusal to give up, the willingness to sacrifice for each other, the stubbornness to keep fighting even when all logic says to surrender. Tejan raised his glass. Your stubbornness, human. Deho laughed and raised his own glass. To stubbornness, and to never surrendering. To standing together, Tejan added. No matter what comes, they drank. Around them, other voices joined in. 100 species, 1,000 voices, all saying the same thing. To standing together. The Kravathi would come. Other threats would follow. The galaxy was a dangerous place. But for the first time in millennia, the Council faced it not as allies of convenience but as true friends forged in fire. Because humanity had taught them a simple truth. The most powerful force in the universe is not technology or weapons or tactics. It is the refusal to abandon those who stand beside you. It is the willingness to sacrifice for others. It is the promise that no matter how dark things get, no matter how impossible the odds, you will never surrender. That was the human way.